You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
And if you're uber romantic, maybe you have big plans for tomorrow night, the 14th of February. That's what I call it. I don't call it Valentine's Day. This is the 14th of February. My wife and I are not into Valentine's Day. Say what you want. It was a conversation we had before we even got married. The expectations for Valentine's Day, and there are none.
Real quick, have you ever been like with past relationships at all?
No, I have, if only because whoever I was dating, it was important to her. The expectation has always been placed upon me. Like, you got to do something for Valentine's Day. And I think it's more of a function of her friends, you know, the meddling friends always got to have something to say. What's he doing for Valentine's Day? Where is he taking you? Going to dinner? You going to do something romantic? It's always the expectations. So,
because then they go back and they have to show off what they did.
Right.
They did.
Because ultimately, she has to report back to her friends. And so either my name would be Mud or not. But yes, I've always been subject to the expectations. I personally have never cared or put any importance on it. It's the 14th of February. Or if I'm really being a smart ass, it's the day before the 15th of February. That's all it is for me. But there are a lot of people out there, men included, who find Valentine's Day enjoyable and very, very, very important to a relationship. I just don't happen to be one of them. I don't think Tuala is either, and I don't think you are, Stephen, and I know sure as hell Mark isn't.
Well, you kind of have to read the room before you make any announcement on the 14th of February.
He kind of gave himself away when he thought that Friday was after Valentine's Day.
Right.
Remember that?
No, I mean, sometimes you can luck out, as I did, and find somebody who really doesn't attach a ton of importance to that one day. If you're a decent human being most of the rest of the year.
Look, but the 14th of February and weddings really have nothing to do with men. It has nothing to do with us. The wedding is all about the bride. It is everything for the bride. The same with the 14th of February. I don't care, and I don't believe, on average, most men care.
No, but if they care, you're going to care.
Especially if you mess it up.
Yeah.
And you're going to be informed if you mess it up. And you're probably going to have a very, very cold 14th of February.
I should also add that if they say they don't care, that doesn't necessarily mean they don't care.
I take that as a guarantee. That's why we had an extended, protracted negotiation period and a contract. So there would be no misunderstanding. You can't change it later. You said you didn't care. You wanted to make sure that we, as husband and wife, did not care about Valentine's Day.
It can get complicated, and honestly, you need to break out the polygraph or one of those galvanic skin response things, because you don't know if they mean exactly what they're saying.
Yeah, it's almost like, so what do you want for your birthday? I don't know. You don't have to throw me like a surprise party or anything.
Is that what they sound like?
Which means, yes, yeah. Which means you better throw them a big-ass surprise party with all their friends.
Yeah, I don't care. It's just another day.
You know, whatever you want to do is fine.
Just like a recording right there.
Okay. Uh-huh. And we men, we are literal. We will listen to what you say. I asked you, what would you like to do for the 14th of February? You told me, oh, nothing is fine. It's no big deal. You know, my girls are going to be out of town with their husbands doing something romantic. But me, I don't care at all.
Yeah, as your spiritual advisor, I say if your significant other says they don't care, your response can't just be, okay, and then you turn around and go about your business. You need to show some vigilance on this front.
It's almost as bad as the what do you want for dinner question.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's like one of the where it's just like, you know, you can't get whatever you want, and you throw out 5 different options.
Right.
No.
And instead of, why don't you just tell me what you want? Don't expect me to figure it out, because I tell my wife all the time, and if she's listening, she would swear that this is true. Look, I am not a psychic. It is not for me to figure out what you mean or what may be going on in your mind. You're supposed to tell me. And if you don't tell me, I'm not responsible for what you don't tell me. Okay? That's why, for me, It's a trap.
As a married man,
It's a trap. They're setting us up. It's a trap. When you say, "Hi, it's okay. I don't want to do anything for the 14th of February. Why don't you go out with your guys and see Captain America, Brave New Soldier?" You sure, baby? Yeah, I'm sure. No, it's a trap. Every single time, it's a trap.
Admiral Akbar knows as well. You don't think Admiral Akbar's married? What do you suppose his wife looks like?
Calamari-ish?
I think let's not take that any further, please.
It's a trap.
I want to know from you, as a married man, what percentage of married life consists of what do you want to watch on TV and what do you want to do for dinner? Is it 80 or 100%?
No. It's different in our household, and I think we're atypical, if only because we lead very different professional lives as far as timing. She may be gone from the house at 7 a.m. She may not get back until 7 p.m. Basically, I'm starting at 7 p.m. on the air, and I may not get back to the house before 11 p.m. She's already asleep. So what do you want for dinner is not a conversation we're going to have during the week.
Yeah. Because
not in our house. Yeah, we're completely opposite.
Your lunch is her dinner.
Right. Now, we may meet on the weekend, and if she wants to watch something, she's just going to watch it on the biggest ass TV in the house because she's just going to claim it, and I'll just go upstairs and watch my little itty bitty TV in my office.
I see. Okay.
We're not watching much together. We're not.
It sounds magical, I got to tell you.
It actually works because I'm not going to watch reality TV. I'm not. She's into,
the Real Housewives stuff.
Real Housewives, 90 Day Fiance, Married at First Sight, all the kind of stuff. All that stuff. She knows all the shows. I have no desire to watch any of them. Not a one of them. Not one.
Yeah, we've got a little more in common on that front than I was hoping.
You might as well just go on and get married.
I might as well just go get behind the wheel right now.
Drive 75 miles an hour down to 110.
Yeah, time for some drifting practice.
When we come back, we're going to actually get to these recommendations for your 14th of February celebrations, whatever you want to do tomorrow night if you haven't thought of something to do. That's next. It's a trap. And I can't help you with that. Okay, if you fall in the trap, you fall in the trap. We've already warned you. If she says, "No, I'm all right. We don't have to do anything. We can just stay in." Just know it's a trap. KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
And here are some things that you can do this 14th of February weekend, just in case you haven't figured out something to do with your significant other. Not that I'm unromantic. I'm just not Valentine's Day invested. But there are a lot of people who are. And if you are someone who doesn't know what to do because you have a high maintenance partner, here's something you can do. You can dance at the Odyssey, the Clay Collective, which is at the Odyssey Theater, 2055 South Sepulveda Boulevard in West LA. I know exactly where that is. Moderately priced, $28, but it's running Friday through Sunday. And a recently founded Clay Collective is an eclectic group of artists representing a plethora of genres. Together, they offer an exciting evening of hip-hop fusion and contemporary dance. There is all sorts of musicality and dance going on. And, seems like it would be a good time if you're into that kind of thing. There's also the Skyline Festival, which is going on at Gloria Molina Grand Park, which is 200 North Grand Avenue downtown, where they have the New Year's Eve celebration. That will be Saturday and Sunday, so you don't necessarily need to worry about it on Friday itself. But it's kind of pricey. $140 and up. The Skyline Festival, a popular house/electronic music event, will feature a number of artists such as Honey Dijon, not familiar. The Martinez Brothers, not familiar. Gordo, can't say I'm familiar. And Green Velvet. Mark?
What do you get for that $140?
A bunch of groups that I'm not familiar with.
We've gotten to the point where I can't tell if some of the group names you're mentioning are just made up. Honey Dijon?
Yes.
I prefer Buffalo.
Okay.
Buffalo Wing.
Yeah, I'm getting hungry, though.
No, I don't even take that one back. I didn't deserve that.
It's like that wasn't even my best stuff.
No, it was a throwaway, but I'm so out of touch with current music that you could just get a random name generator, and I couldn't tell if it was a real band or not.
Here's one that might interest some people, especially listeners to Later with Mo Kelly. Michael Shannon, the actor, is a fabulous performer. Fabulous. And Michael Shannon and Jason Narducci are going to be performing REM's Fables of the Reconstruction at the Bellwether, which is 333 South Boylston Street, downtown L.A. If you're familiar with the L.A. club scene, it's where Prince used to have his club, Glam Slam, back in the day. Cost is $48. And, of course, two-time Oscar nominee Michael Shannon joins forces with musician Jason Narducci. And they're going to play REM's 1985 LP Fables of the Reconstruction, celebrating its 40th anniversary. Comedian Dave Hill opens the evening. That's something I think I might be interested in, just because, having nothing to do with Valentine's Day weekend.
The fact that record's 40 years old makes me want to just take my teeth out and soak them in a glass.
I know. And you think it's only yeah. The math is the math. And I remember fondly, we're talking about Denny's, I remember the early 1990s very fondly, and that's 30 plus years ago. And it shouldn't be like that.
The first time that happened to me was listening to, because you grew up here at Mo, so KRF 101 is always catered to the oldies. And one day I was driving and they were playing No Doubt. And I'm like, that's an oldie now? Are you kidding? And then like you said, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's about 30 years old.
Yeah, yeah. God. Because when I started listening to oldies in the 90s, they were playing 1970s music Beatles, for the most part. Beatles, 60s, late 60s. And he's like, golly, that was before I was born. I mean, gosh, that's old music. And now it's like, hey, that's from the prime of our lives. What is going on? How can it be 40 years ago?
When your music becomes oldies, it's time to start putting your house in order. We saw REM in Seattle when Michael Stipe still had hair. That's how old we are.
Yeah. And you see them as all people age. And you realize that they don't look like they did on the album cover or when they were at their peak. And it's just, like I saw a picture of Donald Fagen the other day. And I realized, that's not the same Donald Fagen that I remember from 45 years ago.
What's he look like now? I haven't seen any current photos.
He's like late 70s. He's had a lot of health issues, and he looks like someone's grandfather, like almost great-grandfather.
Well,
and then you realize that's how we look to other people.
Wow, you speak for yourself.
Like the other example is when we were shopping as a kid and be with my dad, and they'd be playing Santana. And he goes, "Man, that was like on the rock station when I was a kid. Now it's mall music."
Yeah, music. Yeah,
and that happened to me.
But you recognize the song and you're singing along, and young people are like, "What the hell?"
And now it's like you hear Linkin Park, and I'm like, in the mall, in the grocery store.
Yes. Look, I'm a huge Steely Dan fan, and when I see my musical heroes mortal, it's kind of hard for me to deal with. I'm thinking like they're looking the exact same way they did in 1985, and they don't. And it reminds me, I don't even look like what I did in 1985. It's like a sophomore in high school. It's not fair. Mark Ronner, he was already in college at that point.
Just be careful here. I look younger than both of you.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. But you're not. So that's all that matters. Also, on Sunday the 16th, it's not necessarily Valentine's weekend connected, but it is something that you can do with your significant other or spouse. There's the Noche de Benito versus Drake, and it's going to be at the Reserve, which is 650 South Spring Street in downtown LA. Cost is reasonable, from $14 to $37, depending on the ticket. And, quote, "This is for the baddies and their friends who want to have a Sunday fun day since there's no school or work for most folks. Remember, it's President's Day weekend, and you may not have to work that Monday." I do. Mark Ronner does. Tuwala does. Stefan does. When you're working in radio, every holiday for y'all is a work day for us.
It's kind of like your Valentine's Day, February 14th. President's Day is just a Monday.
A day. It's Monday. I mean, with all the holidays, it could be King Holiday, it could be President's Day, it could be Christmas. Labor Day. It's a work day for the most part. And did you know I have to take an actual vacation day to get Christmas off?
I think we all would have to, because I think it's the middle of the week this year, right?
No, I'm just saying in general, we don't get just because it's Christmas, we get the day off.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I have to take a day off.
Well, you mean December 25th?
Yes.
The day before the 26th.
Yes.
Not everybody's that into it,
I'm calling it what it is. Okay. When I refer to Valentine's Day, I'm just referring to it like it's the Gulf of America. Okay. I'm just calling.
Oh boy.
I'm calling it what it is.
Let's avoid that quagmire.
Freedom fries. Anyhow, the reserve, Noche de Benito versus Drake is from $14 to $37. And it seems like it'll be a good time if you want to get out there and groove and shake your booty with your significant other. And if it's your music, then it is for you. And that's, I think, the best part about, I'll say, if you do get married, make sure you have someone that you have a lot of social interests with, that you don't mind spending time with them in a social setting. For example, I'm complicated in the respect that I'm a people person. I can walk into any room. It's like I'm comfortable. I can work the room, talk to people, but I'm not the person who always wants to be on. Since I'm on the air, I'm on the air. But when I'm not on the air, I don't want to be on. I don't want to have to. I just want to just be able to just not talk.
You don't want to perform for people at the snap of the fingers when you're in a social setting?
No, dog and pony show. Nope.
Go figure.
Nope.
You want to just be.
Right.
Yeah.
But my wife kind of understands that, so we have like this sign language. We'll give each other the sign when one of us is ready to exit the premises. It could be an excuse, it could be whatever, but we just have this unspoken language where we can look at each other. It's like, time to go.
Like with baseball signals and stuff, like
all that kind of pull the lobe of the ear, and rub the eyebrow, and yes, all those kinds of things. Because look, after a certain point, she's not an all night type of person. So the only time that she will stay up late is usually for like New Year's Eve party, something like that, like we did when we went to Catalina. But other than that, if the party is going south or she's going down as far as getting sleepy, she'll give me the high sign, kind of like nod her head to me and saying, time to go. And then we'll give some lazy ass excuse like, oh, we got to go check on the dogs. And we're out of there. Out of there. And it works for us. That's the whole point. You'll find yourself enjoying these nights out when you have the same type of appreciation for going out. If one of you is really into the big and over the top stuff and the other person isn't, it's not going to work.
Pets can cost you a lot of money in the long run, but you cannot put a price tag on the ability to use them as an excuse in any situation.
Aren't they great for that?
Seriously.
I don't feel bad about it ever. It's like, look, we've been gone for like 6 hours. I'm tapping my watch. Got to check on Riley and Benson, make sure they haven't like soiled the place, and they never would. It's not even a concern.
And they have no idea that what you're using them for. They
don't care.
Give them a treat. They're good.
Well, if anything, they're okay with it because we're back home sooner.
I was gonna say you're home earlier.
So it's not.
It's win-win.
Yeah, it's not a lie per se. It's more like a pink lie. It's not a white lie. It's one of those things where it's not completely untrue. It's just not completely true. If you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah.
It's later with Mo Kelly. This goes back to my Denny days. I'm kind of like splitting my morality here. It's not really stealing if I pay it back in 25 years, 35 years. It's not really stealing, is it?
Nice try.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI Mo Kelly, live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app. And every once in a while, we'll come across a story which is just perfect for the show. Just absolutely perfect. It mixes politics with movie theaters and the entertainment experience. This is something you may hear about in the coming weeks. There is a bill which has been proposed by Connecticut State Senator Martin Looney, which could, as it's being described, revolutionize how movie theaters operate by requiring them to list both the pre-show and actual feature start times separately. For example, all the fellas were going out to see movie Captain America Brave New World tonight. It starts at, let's say, 2 in the morning. It's going to feel like 2 in the morning for me. That's the listed start time. The actual movie won't start to about 2:30, which means there's a good half hour of trailers, 2 minutes of Nicole Kidman, maybe an AMC promo. There's probably an M&M's commercial. You know, all the stuff that we're accustomed to seeing prior to the actual movie. But the listed start time will be 2 a.m. The actual movie won't start until 2:30 a.m. And this bill is set to address something just like that. If you didn't know, major chains like AMC already provide general guidance about pre-show length. They'll let you know, but you have to dig for the information. But this bill would mandate it, at least in the state of Connecticut. This bill would mandate specific timing disclosures for all theaters, and it probably would disrupt how we would go to the movies, because we would go better understanding. Now, if you go to the movies a lot, you already know that the time listed on the ticket, or, you know, the supposed start time of the movie is not the start time of the movie. We know that. But it has increasingly changed over the years, where the time between the listed time and the actual start time has gotten larger and larger and larger. It used to be about 15 minutes. Now you can bet with a major movie release like tonight, when we see Captain America Brave New World, it will be at least 30 minutes. At the minimum 30 minutes. I'm talking about maybe 5 trailers, 3 commercials, 2 Nicole Kidmans.
See theaters to laugh, to cry, to care. Because we need
to care.
All of us. That indescribable feeling we get when the lights begin to dim. And we go somewhere.
2 Nicole Kidmans and a partridge in a pear tree. There's a lot going on before the movie. And if you're trying to schedule with friends, like, hey, we're going to meet at the Regal Cinemas in Alondra, Alhambra, whatever, and the movie starts at 6 p.m. 6 p.m. doesn't mean 6 p.m. It usually means the movie's going to start around 6:30. And I know some people, me included, especially if there's not going to be a fight for parking, or it's probably an empty theater, I will just tack on 30 minutes. I just know, okay, the ticket says 6 p.m. I will show my ass up at 6:15. And by the time I get my food, whatever, because I always got to get food when I go to the theater, I can sit down around 6:30, because I don't need to see the trailers, especially in a YouTube world. I can find any trailer that is in a movie house, okay? There's nothing. Look, there's probably going to be a Thunderbolts trailer when we go see the movie tonight, next Marvel movie. I can find that right now on YouTube. They're not going to show me anything special.
And that's kind of like a sad part about it, because I remember that being part of the experience as a kid. Like, oh, what's going to be the new movie? Because you couldn't YouTube it, back in the 90s, 80s, whatever. So, it just sucks. You're like, well, I can see them later. So, yeah, like you said, you can get your snacks and everything. Plan 30 minutes.
This legislation was introduced back on January 21st, and I don't know where it's going to go, but it does probably suggest that other state-level politicians will follow suit, if only because it makes sense realistically. It's logical, and it's something that we've all talked about at some point. I don't know of anyone who goes to the movies and has not complained about how much pre-show filler is there. And it's gotten longer and longer and longer. And I also think that it has added to the number of reasons why we would rather stay home. It's one less, because going to the movies now is a commitment. It's a time commitment. If you know the movie, like Martin Scorsese,
okay,
The Flower Moon, whatever's, is 3 hours and 35 minutes long. The movie. And we know that there's another 30 minutes on top of that pre-show. Well, you know what? I'm just not going to go, because that's a 4-hour commitment, saying nothing of driving to and driving from the theater.
What's funny is they have gotten longer, and you can tell when the audience starts to turn now, because
start groaning.
We used to be excited to see the trailers, and now after more than 2 or 3 of them, you get into the trailers and commercials. It galls people. to pay money to go see a movie in person and still be subjected to commercials. So yeah, they do start groaning after a certain point.
That's a great point, because there are more commercials, which I don't consider to be content. You have the commercial for the Dolby sound, which is a straight up commercial. You have the commercial for the please stop talking and texting. It's necessary, but it's still a commercial. You have the commercial, obviously, for the Nicole Kidman. You have the commercial for the local theaters, like, hey, if you want to rent this theater, 999-4427 or something. You know, there's always something which has nothing to do with the actual movie.
Yeah, the thing is, I've kind of got mixed feelings about this legislation, because my knee-jerk impulse is, yeah, give it to the man. I want to know when the movie starts, and I want all that information. On the other hand, with theaters teetering on the brink of extinction, I'm willing to endure a little bit more that I don't care for, just because I'd like them to stay around longer.
No, and I'm with you. And part of the way that they can make money is to have commercials. So I am sympathetic, but I don't necessarily need to see the commercials. You can put them in and you can charge your ad rates, whatever. But if you really knew the financials behind running a theater, it can be very expensive for a largely empty place.
Oh, they rely on you buying your little commie McNuggets to make the rent. Yeah. Yeah, the tickets don't keep the theaters afloat.
Concessions.
It's the concessions. Yeah,
absolutely.
Totally.
It's later with Mo Kelly. And yes, we will have I think it's going to be a combined Rana report tomorrow on Captain America, Brave New World, right? Is that fair to say?
Rana report plus Nerd Roundtable?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Sounds good.
It's later with Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640. We are live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
I'm not ashamed to admit it. Small World Ride is one of my favorite rides at Disneyland, but not for the reasons most people probably think. I can say that some of my best memories were on Small World, especially grad night, 1987. Graduated from South Torrance High School. I don't know if they still have grad night at Disneyland, but they did when I was in high school. And back in 1987, there weren't a lot of high schools which went to Disneyland. The park was closed down, and you'd have maybe, 30 to 40 high schools, which meant the park was relatively empty. And we all were of the same mindset. We're all 17 or 18. We just graduated from high school. And the place to be was on Small World. Small World back in the 1980s was different from the Small World now. Back in the 1980s, and I know Tuwala can testify to this. Mark, I don't know if you knew this or had gone to Disneyland at that point.
Well, I prefer to get it on in the Matterhorn. Small World sounds a little bit too insulting.
No, it's okay. Only if you're not too self-confident.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Small World used to be very dark. The lights were really down low. Now, there were cameras, but hey, we didn't care about putting on a show. But at least as far as the ambiance was concerned, it was a slow ride. It was a dark ride, and it was a long ride. You had enough time to get it in. You had enough time to do some stuff on Small World. Was it kind of disconcerting or unnerving to hear that Small World song in the background? Yeah. Was it a little bit unsettling to see the little Small World kind of childlike animatronics going back and forth and gyrating while you were trying to get it on a Small World? Yeah, sure. I can see it, all that. But I was 17 years old, and I had a girlfriend at the time, and it was post-graduation. It was on and cracking.
You trying to tell me you never got the full Bobert in the Hall of Presidents?
Not the Hall of Presidents. I'm just saying Small World has been very, very good to me. That's all.
Shame on you.
I don't care. I have lived. The whole point of me telling this story is because Disneyland is adding a new verse to its It's a Small World ride for the park's 70th anniversary. Now, there are going to be changes all around Disneyland from Main Street, USA on down. But It's a Small World, there's going to be another verse. And the way that you can interpret this is the ride is going to be longer. There will be more time for debauchery. The happiest place on earth. I can say this. I'm not proud of it. Well, actually, I am proud of it. I can say this. I wasn't the only one trying to get it in on Small World.
Stop saying get it in, man.
What am I supposed to say? What is the euphemism you would prefer?
I can't say any of them.
That's my point.
That's why.
That is why. The other rides back in the 1980s, which were great for it, the aforementioned and frequently mentioned Sky Gondola, which took you, I think, from Tomorrowland to Fantasyland across the park. That was about maybe a 7 or 8 minute ride.
Is that where you threw the mustard?
Correct.
Okay.
Now, the problem with that is too much movement in the cabin made it difficult. Difficult. I'll just leave it at that. The logistics of it were not conducive to the best experience.
But the 7 or 8 minute thing wasn't a problem at that age.
At that age, you were just happy for any time you had alone.
Yeah, right.
The Halloween Haunted Mansion, that was a good one. That was a good one because you were on those big chairs and everything.
Yeah, I almost argue. I mean, it's a shorter ride, but that's almost better because you're kind of like in a concave.
Close. Yes. Yeah. Yes. And it was much darker back in the day as well.
Yeah.
Space Mountain? No. Mm-mm. No. Mm-mm. The Matterhorn? No. Mark said the Matterhorn? No. Mm-mm. Wasn't good. Splash Mountain? Mm-mm. Nope. No. Pirates of the Caribbean, there are some points in it where you can do some stuff.
But the only problem with that is you share a whole bench with a bunch of other people.
But grad night, there were oftentimes you'd have your whole, I don't know, boat to yourself.
That's true. Yeah.
So yeah.
Or it'd be other kids trying to
right. And we were all of the same mind. Just don't look over here. You stay your eyes over there. I won't look at y'all. You don't look at us.
Awkward.
Not at the time. They're just, look, Mark, you remember when you were 17, 18? You just did stuff that was not probably smart or well advised.
I was a little shy, but I had friends who fit that description.
You've never tried to.
That's all I'm going to say.
You've never tried to.
Don't.
Did it ever cross your mind?
Negative. Don't.
I love making him squirm.
He's so uncomfortable. He cannot stand it. So if you are a Disney veteran like me, and hopefully they've turned the lights back down because the last time I went, they really turned the lights up. It doesn't have the same ambiance.
Yeah, either that or they added more lights because it the last time I went, it was definitely brighter.
Yeah, it's almost like, wait a minute, I'm like walking into my room. It's not quite the same. You know, I was waiting for it used to be where they were almost like you'd have Teddy Pendergrass playing in the background. It's like, get you in the mood. Small World was the place to be. And there was one other.
The teacup ride. Come on.
No. Wasn't the teacup ride. Oh, Tom Sawyer Island. What? Yes, Tom Sawyer Island.
The ferry or the actual?
No, the actual island, because they had these tunnels and alcoves and places where you could go on the island to get some alone time. I can't believe I'm the only one who saw Disneyland as the opportunity to really be the happiest place on earth with happy endings.
You beat me to it.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
KFI.
And KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live everywhere on the iHeartRadio.